Bravo 2 to Bravo 1.
Go for Bravo 1. On.
Are you hearing the traffic over on Channel 2?
Yeah, negative. I've been off regional comms for most of the morning.
Well, be advised, the feds have enacted martial law and have ordered the police to round up all the YouTube superstars and confiscate all their firearms.
I mean, we're pretty off-grid here. The place is pretty secure, and, plus I've really enacted the gray man theory.
Well, you know that all the cops and the feds have subscribed to the Outdoorsman YouTube channel.
Copy that. En route to apprehend the dangerous YouTube personality known as the Outdoorsman.
Ah, crap, I got action outside the wire. They're coming.
Gentlemen and lady, welcome back to the Outdoorsman YouTube channel. For those of you who are perhaps just joining us for the first time, my name is Will, and I am the Outdoorsman. In this video, which is part 3 of our continuing series of civil war or large-scale civil unrest, we're going to be covering a topic that I don't see covered really on any other prepper channel. Mostly because those other channels, you know it and I know it, they're just focused on doom and gloom and super volcanoes and EMPs and storing and preparing your precious cans of beans and peas and now white rice. And that topic, ladies and gentlemen, is martial law. And we are going to be covering exactly what martial law is, if it has ever been used in the United States before, and a lot of you are going to be really shocked by the truth. What would happen under martial law to you and I? And finally, what we should do as preppers in the event of federal martial law. Now, before we get too far into this video, you know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel. In just 5 short days, we've gained over 850 subscribers. I cannot thank you guys enough. It really means a lot to me. So down in the comments, let me know what is the scenario that you see for the government to enact martial law on us, the American citizen. And I love all of your comments. Truthfully, I do. Good or bad. Last but not least, we have a Patreon link down below. All right, so first off, what exactly is martial law? And we're going to go right off the federal government's webpage, and I'm going to read it right to you. In the United States, martial law usually refers to a power that, in an emergency, allows the military to take place of the civilian government and exercise jurisdiction over civilians in a particular area. But, and this is the big but, martial law has no true definition. Across American history, different people have used different definitions for the term martial law. And those terms have described a very wide variety of actions, practices, or roles for the U.S. military. The law governing martial law is complicated and it's unsettled. And as a result, the concept has never been well understood. Now, let us not confuse martial law with lockdowns, because we've had some lockdowns, and I know how a lot of you acted during the China virus lockdowns from 2020 to 2023. Now, the High Chancellor and Supreme Leaders of our wonderful United States government have proven time and time again that they can force people to stay home via fear, propaganda, and outright bullshit. Now, a lot of you ne'er-do-wells and troublemakers out there, well, let me tell you something. You defied those sacred lockdown laws. You continued to go out, continued eating at restaurants. You were buying groceries and toilet paper. You visited your family, you had barbecues, and hell, you even went to the beach from time to time. And you were out there just generally living your best life, you naughty boys and girls. But again, during all that COVID nonsense, we never actually experienced any type of martial law. So, can our supreme overlord or president that's currently in the White House declare martial law? Well, the Supreme Court has never clearly stated whether or not the federal government actually has the power to declare martial law. And if the president could unilaterally declare it, without congressional authorization. Now again, there are no federal statutes anywhere that authorize the president to declare martial law. So that leads us into, can individual states declare martial law? Now the Supreme Court has held that individual states do have the power to enact martial law, and that declaration is valid simply if it is authorized by the Constitution of that state. So long and short of it, whatever state you live in, you need to look up and see if your state has the power to enact martial law. Now, federal martial law has in fact been declared in the United States, believe it or not, 68 times. And 30 of those 68 times have actually resulted in separate legal challenges to the declaration of martial law. Now, some of you people who live in the communist state of California, you may have experienced an example of non-military martial law in 1992 in the very famous Rodney King riots.
Why can't we all just get along?
So with all that said, you or I have never actually ever experienced any type of martial law. Now, before you guys out there start wiping that nervous sweat off your brows, cracking your knuckles, and getting ready to write a hateful comment telling me I don't know what I'm talking about, while sitting there screaming, "Katrina, Katrina, Hurricane Katrina." Martial law was never actually put into place during or after Hurricane Katrina. On August 31st, 2005, then Mayor Nagin or Negan, who the heck is that?
Dun 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 dun.
Declared martial law to help stop the furious lawlessness that happened post-hurricane. However, the Louisiana Attorney General's office said time and time again,
If you're lost, you can look and you will find me.
that martial law is not recognized by Louisiana state law. After the hurricane had passed and everybody was looting and rioting, the chief of police at the time, I believe his name was Eddie Compass, crackhead, I don't know what it was, but it was Eddie something or other. Well, anyway, he called in the National Guard to confiscate firearms from civilians that had remained in the area. So, in that short amount of time up until about December, 552 firearms were confiscated from us, the American people. Now, what happened to these firearms? Well, I have no idea. But what I can tell you, and this came from a friend of mine, and ladies and gentlemen, let me assure you, I am not making this up. He told me that a lot of those firearms were destroyed because the government said they were still soaking wet. But because of this moron who decided to steal all of these people's firearms during a national emergency, in 2006, the Disaster Recovery Personal Protection Act was signed into law. This act prohibited the confiscation during an emergency or a major disaster if, and this is the big if, the possession of such firearm is not limited under state or federal law, which means now in Massachusetts, we're all fucked. Now, because these lunatics at the United States government do not have our best interests in mind, they put some stipulations into this so-called bill. And that clause said that surrender of a firearm could be required if, and I'm going to read this off my notes here, as a condition for entry into any mode of transportation used for evacuation or rescue. Now, old Bourbon George Bush signed this act into law on September 30th, 2006. And that became public law 109295. Just be advised here, ladies and gentlemen, that I am not a lawyer and I am not a legal expert, so please don't use anything you saw on this channel as any type of legal defense. So by now you're asking yourself, Will, you're a genius. If they can't enact martial law, then what am I worried about? Well, here's the thing. We don't know what kind of civil unrest or civil war is going to pop off, or if it's even going to happen. So it really boils down to, if there is some type of federal martial law and you have troops rolling through your streets, there's not a whole hell of a lot you're going to be able to do about it. Well, I know a lot of you are going to bug out and head up into the mountains or go into that, bunker that you started digging when you were 5 in the backyard, because it will be different. During the China virus pussidemic, all of those lockdowns and stay-at-homes, again, they were just all requests. And I would believe, and again, I'm not 100% sure, but a federal martial law, something tells me, of all the movies I've ever seen, it kind of gives the right for the troops to just shoot and kill you. And I don't want you guys to get the wrong impression about me. Where I live, we have a lot of restrictive and harsh laws that are just absolute lunacy. But I do follow each and every law within the state of Massachusetts because I have a lot to lose. I have all you guys, my fans. I don't want to lose you. And, I guess there's my wife too. If there is some type of civil war or civil unrest, I mean, just stay home. Watch the second video on how to bug in. Be safe in your house. Don't take any unnecessary risks. And just keep living your best life. All right, I don't know what that's going to look like, but let's go edit that and see if we like that.